Tomorrow, the president heads to Ground Zero, capitalizing on his popularity boost after the killing of Bin Laden. 10 years after 9/11, we've lost a great number of our freedoms. Plus, we've spent more than $1 trillion lost in the desert sands of Iraq and Afghanistan, along with thousands of our soldiers and hundreds of thousands of civilians. Has it been worth it? Joining me now is the American Conservative Magazine columnist and Freedom Watch regular Jack Hunter. Jack, it's a pleasure. Welcome back to Freedom Watch. How has
Good to be with you, Judge.
Of course, thank you. How has American foreign policy, Jack, changed since 9/11?
It's changed drastically. We're all happy that Usama Bin Laden, who murdered 3,000 innocent people on 9/11, has been caught and been eliminated. The problem I'm seeing, though, is that the entire war on terror narrative, the invasion and occupation of Iraq, being in Afghanistan for a decade, the use of so-called enhanced interrogation tactics, now this is all being said that it was justified because of what happened this week with Usama Bin Laden. That's the greater fear that I see. And the same people saying this are saying we need to stay at war in these countries and stay for forever. I ask you this, my fellow Americans, dead serious, with Osama Bin Laden gone, if now is not the time to come home, when is that time? Will there ever be a time to come home?
Right. And this is the problem, Jack. You know this, and a lot of our listeners know it, with the so-called authorization to use military force. The Constitution says the Congress shall declare war. When it declares war, there's a goal, and when the goal is reached, there's an end to it. But this resolution, to which Congressman Connie Mack referred earlier in the show, which let the president pursue anybody he wants anywhere at any time, is so open-ended that under the resolution, the president doesn't have to end the war on terror. Yet, Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. There's no al-Qaeda ever, as far as we know, been in Iraq. There's only 100 or fewer of them in Afghanistan. And the reason for invading Afghanistan was accomplished with the killing of Bin Laden on Sunday night. So, Senator McCain and Senator Rubio, isn't it time for these hawks to say, bring them home?
Well, that's exactly right, but you're using logic, Judge. That's the case I'm making, that we use the war on terror narrative. We invoke 9/11 as an excuse to be involved in Libya, or Marco Rubio wanting to be involved in Syria, or what we're doing in Iraq or Afghanistan. At the end of the day, Osama bin Laden was taken out due to the use of intelligence and a very small elite fighting force. Funny enough, right after 9/11, Congressman Ron Paul suggested that large-scale wars of invasion and occupation could not and would not be effective in going after a group like al-Qaeda. Right. He suggested we use the constitutionally based method of Marque and Reprisal, which is not that dissimilar to how we actually took out Osama bin Laden. What would have made more sense? Staying in Afghanistan for 10 years, all the lives and dollars lost in invading Iraq, which had nothing to do with 9/11, or doing from the get-go what Congressman Paul suggested, which is basically what we did when we took out bin Laden,
all right,
in the end.
The letters of Marque and Reprisal, an old-fashioned 17th century term that made its way into the Constitution, basically allows the Congress to authorize the president to hire a small group of mercenaries to accomplish some national security goal without implicating the risk of soldiers and without implicating an enormous army and without spending enormous amount of funds. So if they had used this procedure, it would have been as if they had hired those 40 guys that went in there on Sunday night as private mercenaries to do it. Why the heck didn't we just do that instead of what we ended up doing? Is it because presidents like wars?
It's the old Rahm Emanuel thing, never let a good crisis go to waste. We saw the empowerment of the executive branch under Bush, and it remains under Obama, where we do, you're absolutely right, operate outside the Constitution on a regular basis by using 9/11 as an excuse, not an actual justification. What in God's name does 9/11 have to do with Libya? Ask John McCain. I don't know. I would love to hear the answer to that question. Syria, what we're doing in Iraq now, in retrospect, why do we need 50,000 troops there? Why do we need more than 100,000 troops in Afghanistan today to take care of what our own leaders tell us is less than 100 members of al-Qaeda? It doesn't make any sense, and we can't look at what happened this week. It was great that we got America's sworn enemy in Osama bin Laden, but it doesn't mean that everything else that we've spent so many lives and dollars on was worth it. We have to remember that.
Got it, Jack. Hunter, thanks very much for joining us. Forget about